Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Brimwood Farm Saturday night live stream. It's evening here in the UK, but it may be afternoon if you're in the States, or it might be the sunny old morning if you're over in Oz. But wherever you are in the world, please feel free to chat and ask questions and just enjoy the next hour and a bit. I'm normally here for about an hour and a half. Now, if you're watching on replay and you're annoyed that you missed the live stream, just hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button. It means that next time we go live, normally on a Saturday night, 10 p.m. GMT, you'll get a little notification and you can swing by and join in the chat and the nice little Brimwood Farm community we've got here. So as always, we're going to do a little bit of an update on the week that was. I'll tell you a few things that have been happening this week. You can get a few inside gossip and a bit of scoop on what's coming up on tomorrow's Smallholding Diaries. After that, I will drink some more tea. We're not on the mead like last week. It was very nice, but I haven't got any more, so we're back on the tea. And then we'll go into our normal chat. So again, this week there wasn't a huge amount of videos. Yesterday we had our quail video, so I shared with you the quailies that hatched. So they started to pip on Valentine's Day, so that was the 14th, I think that was Wednesday, wasn't it? And so I went to bed and I had expected babies by then, but alas there was nothing. But I came down the next morning to a plethora of little scurrying little bumblebee-sized chicks, which was really, really lovely to see. Now if you've watched the video yesterday, you know that we did lose one. It got shrink wrapped in the shell, so although I did help it, I didn't take it out early. I'm very careful when hatching, and I don't like to go in if at all possible, but when you can see that a chick is properly stuck, it's best to go in and just give it a little nudge. That chick sadly didn't make it, and then if you watched all the way through to the end of yesterday's video, you'll see that I did do an egg-topsy, and we had a couple of dead in the shell. But as I also said in that video, 2 dead in the shell out of 27 eggs, 8 hatched, 9 hatched, and 2 dead in the shell was not bad at all. With chickens, you can expect high rates of hatch. So if I get anything under a 60% hatch rate with chickens, I'm fairly disappointed. If I get a 50% hatch rate with quail, I'm quite happy. Quail just generally have a lower hatch rate, and that's why I tend to, when I send out hatching eggs, if people say they want, 4 or 5 quail, I say, you need to buy a 12 egg box, because often those eggs won't always hatch. So that was yesterday's video, and then coming up on tomorrow's Smallholding Diaries, there's a bit of an inside scoop on a few things. The first is our budgies, so our budgie update. Now, there hasn't been great news there either, I'm afraid. We had those 2 little budgie babies. They hatched on almost exactly the same day, but from the word go, one was bigger and stronger than the other, and the other kind of got left behind a little bit. And basically what happened is, when I took them out, so on last Sunday's Smallholding Diaries, you may have seen that I took them out and held them for the first time to introduce you. When I was putting them back into the nest box, I noticed that the smaller of the chick was sort of making a bit of a clicking noise when it was breathing. I didn't think huge amount of it, but it was a worrying sign, and then sadly 2 days later it had actually died. And then the larger budgie, so the oldest baby, has also been making that noise. Now, I've gone online and I've asked a few questions, and some people thought it could be air sac mites. Now, my parents aren't showing any symptoms at all of mites, and they were all treated with a 0.1% ivermectin, so they shouldn't have any parasites on them. But I did dose everybody again, including the Chinese painted quail on the bottom. Now, and I also dosed the chick, because at that point, so 2 days ago, at that point, that chick was not looking good, and I thought, what the hell, I'm going to do it, because this chick is on the way out. Now, the good news is the chick is still here. The chick is still with us. Sunny is still feeding it, but it is not growing very quickly. It's not sitting upright in the box, its legs are splayed, and the soft white down that was covering its body has also disappeared. So it's not looking fantastic for that chick. If the growth continues to kind of stall, it's going to be a stunty runty, and they often don't make it all the way through. So please keep your fingers crossed for this little baby. I don't know what's going to happen. This is part of the thing when you're keeping livestock. You know, some animals do really well. They're off out the gate, but you can give them as much care and attention as possible. But ultimately, it comes down to nature, and so we'll see if that chick lasts and survives and comes out. However, I am going to the Bird Keepers Association show tomorrow, so I'm very excited. I'm going to be getting a couple more budgies. I want to get I've decided I'm going to buy a hen to pair up with Pluto, and a cockbird to pair up with Sunny. Sunny is not going to have any more chicks this year because she's done her 2 clutches. Regardless of whether this chick survives or not, she's done her 2 clutches. I don't want her having any more. So the plan is to get a nice hen in for Pluto and breed them, because he hasn't bred this year, so he can breed with a new hen. And then their offspring will be of a separate genetic line to Sunny and Io's offspring. And then I will probably be able to cross some of the babies. So I'm keeping those 3 babies from the first hatch. So hopefully I'll be able to cross them with Pluto and his new hen's babies. I'm also going to try and get a couple of Chinese painted quail hens, because those 3 birds in the bottom of the aviary, well, 2 of them were supposed to be hens. They've both turned out to be cockbirds, so I'm going to try and get a couple of those as well. I may get a pair of Rosa Borks if there are any, and I am on the lookout for a pair of diamond doves. So again, I'm going to be looking out for those too, which is incredibly exciting. Then in terms of planting, it's still very cold here. Today has been very mild, but it's still very cold, and the temperatures are sort of here, and after Monday, Tuesday, they're supposed to go right back down again. So I'm holding off on planting anything out. Now, I have got my herbs on the go, as you have seen, but we've had a bit of a fiasco there as well, because Barry, it's always Barry, isn't it? Barry managed to escape from his cat box one night. So what do you think happens when a cockerel escapes from their night box and trundles into the conservatory, where there are all of these tiny, fresh, lovely herby seedlings? Yeah, you've guessed it. They were eviscerated. There's about 10 parsley left. The dill are completely gone. So I have had to sow a whole new batch. But that is another reason why it's really good to sow a little bit early if you can, because I'm not too late in the season, so I've just thrown more seeds in. I've scolded Barry and told him not to do it again, and I'm going to have to make sure that cat box doesn't accidentally open. Next up, chicken check-in. So if any of you who are watching have chickens, it is time for you to pick up the camera and get in front of it and film a few of your chickens for the show. If you're watching on the replay, I will put a link up to the chicken check-in playlist up here, and you can go through and see what's required. Liz has done it, Marina's done it, lots of you guys who come into the chat have already done it. If you haven't, please consider getting in front of your camera, picking out your 3 favourite chickens, talking about them for 4 or 5 minutes, and then you send it to me. I'll upload it to the channel. If you have a YouTube channel, I will also link across to that, so the viewers on this channel get a chance to see your chickens, and they can come and visit your channel as well. What else have we got? So so guinea and pheasants. So we decided, I explained last week that the guard goose was on hold because I simply don't have the right setting and scenario to keep a guard goose, because I think they need more grass and I haven't got enough space. So I've decided guineas. I have found a guinea supplier and I have found a pheasant supplier. Now the eggs are not in yet. The eggs won't be in for a few weeks. They haven't started laying yet for this year. But I have now found somewhere where I can get unrelated pairs of pheasants and guinea fowl. So they'll be coming in this year, and I've started to clean out the aviary floor in preparation for those pheasants. I am going to be moving the quail out, and I'm going to be moving the quail into what I'm going to call my high-rise apartments. They're going to be on wire, but they're going to also be on shavings and have integrated sandboxes. And I think they'll be much happier, because at the moment it's been so wet. Those poor little quailies are so small. They've got very muddy. And then lastly, before we move into our normal chat and fun time and question and answer, I'm going to tell you about the job. So last week, I alluded to the fact that I had got a new part-time job, and for various reasons I decided to wind down the gardening business up in London and start a part-time job just to bring some money in, to give our family a bit of financial support and grounding, because self-employment is very much like this. Now, I'm really, really happy to tell you what it is. I didn't want to jinx it last week because I hadn't started. I'd just done one trial day. I've now done, well, it was supposed to be a part-time job, but I've almost done 40 hours this week. And I'm very excited to tell you that I am now working at a farm park. So a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen the video at Barleylands Farm Park, and I went on that Sunday. I'd never heard of it before, and I went round, and on the way out, I just happened to ask if they had any jobs, and they did. And it was a bit of a whirlwind, actually. It's a bit of a mad story. It is complete fate. So we went to Barleylands on the Sunday, and we went just because Sard wanted to see the falcons. Sard talked to them about doing a falconry course there, and they said, don't do a falconry course, become one of our volunteers. You need to give up a day a week and become a volunteer, and you'll get a much broader experience of the birds. So instead of doing a one course for 4 or 5 days on one bird, if you come and be a volunteer for us, you'll get to know experience of all the birds. So we came, and so Barleylands had this other part-time job. So we came home Sunday night, and we both sorted out our CVs and our resumes and application forms. We both submitted our application forms on the Monday. We both got called back on the Monday, and we both went in for interviews on the Tuesday at exactly the same time. So at 3 p.m. on the Tuesday, we both went in for interviews. I went in as a farm park host, and Sard went in as a volunteer. My interview finished earlier than his, so I popped over to see him, and he turned around and said, yes, I am now a volunteer and I'm starting tomorrow. So Sard started on that Wednesday, the next day. I then got a call a couple of days later to say, yes, you're brilliant, we would like you as part of our team, please come in for a trial day. So I went in for my trial day a week ago last Monday. And at the end of that Monday, they basically decided, yes, they did want me. So I am actually utterly thrilled to be working at Barleylands Farm Park now. It's a really, really great opportunity for me. It suits me job-wise with the money coming in, but it also gives me a huge opportunity to learn. You'll have seen throughout this whole channel, it's all about gearing up towards the farm and gaining experience. And I'm gaining experience with the quail and the poultry and all the breeding aspects and the business aspects as well. But I can't keep any large animals here. And now I have the prime opportunity to not only get paid, but get paid to learn. So this past week, I've spent about 35 hours in the lambing shed watching sheep, watching as they get ever bigger and hoping that they're going to start popping and we're going to have lambs coming out. So far, we've only had 3, but I have learned a vast amount. Now, I have had dealings with sheep before. I grew up, my granddad primarily had a flock of sheep, and it all came back to me, but I have learnt so much. I've also started to learn a ton about the cows, the goats, and so over the next coming months, hopefully I'm going to get tons and tons of experience. And the nice thing is, because it is part-time, I'll be able to put tons more work into this channel as well, and hopefully gain more experience so that I can start to do larger animals as well. So that is all my really, really good news. I have seen tons of chat flying past. I will try and scroll up to see a few of these questions. But if you have a question right now, just please type it again so I don't miss it. And I will say that going through the chat moves quite quickly. So if I do miss your question, please just call out and just keep asking until I get around to it, because it does move quite fast. And also, if I miss you when I'm reading off the roll call of who is in the house, please also just keep saying hi, because I will find you eventually. So let's see who here. Danielle's here, Amir is here, Alyssa is here, Yorn, Thomas, Robert's Farm, Liz, Sandra, Manchito Pro TV, and Manchito, can you share to us some horror histories in your farm or town? I don't think there is any horror. I don't really believe in poltergeists or ghosts or things like that. I can't think of anything awful. AJ is here. Kat is here. So Kat's one of my Patreons. So thank you very much. She says, well done, Jeff. Brilliant. I don't think it's well done me. I think it's just fate. It aligned the stars. And I kind of have a half-hearted idea of karma. And I just thought karma wasn't being very nice. But I think karma was saving it all up for me to come at once. Ross is here. Thank you, Ross, for coming in. Alana's here. Caroline is here. Hey, Caroline. So there's loads of people here. The veg grower is here. Brilliant. This is really good. Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome to the chat. So thank you so much for all giving me congratulations. I can't quite believe it. It's utterly amazing to be able to go in and work and just love what you're doing. And, you know, it's been cold and it's been rainy and I've loved every second of it. I've just basically been on the sheep maternity ward watching sheep, patting sheep, doing talks about sheep, and it's blooming brilliant. Jay at Hilltop Farm Homestead. Hello, welcome, Jay. Jay is another of my welcome patrons. Thank you. He says, "Will they let you film anything at the farm?" So I haven't currently. This keeps flipping up. I haven't currently addressed that situation because I don't want to go in all barrels rolling and start asking if I can do this, can do this. I know that I'm not allowed to film obviously while I work. I am going to in the future probably approach the possibility of doing a few little films around the park that we can maybe use for this channel and they can maybe use for their marketing. But at the moment, I'm just treading softly. I don't want to go all being bulging and moving in. So I'm just going to learn, but it would be great if we could do some filming in the park in the future. So I am going to think about that in a few months, but for now I'll just settle in. And Kat was saying, "Oh, good question. I want to know that too." It is fantastic. And if you get a chance to go back and watch that barley land video, you'll see where I'm working. You'll see the animals I'm working with. So I would hope that I could take some more video of it in the future to share with you guys, especially those of you who are abroad and can't or would never be able to get to barley lands. It would be good to show you kind of where I work. Fringe-Dweller, hello, welcome. Says, "Your new job sounds so cool. I'm so pleased for you. You deserve it." Thank you so much. I'm thrilled. I'm utterly thrilled. I come home and I literally feel like a different person. It's amazing. And today I was a day off. It was a beautiful day here, and it was probably the first day in about a decade or maybe more where I just pottered around with no anxiety. There was no anxiety and there were no voices in my head saying, "How much have you earned today? Have you earned enough? Do you need to go and sit at your computer and start doing some stuff to earn some money?" There was none of that because I know that I've earned money. I've worked hard all this week and today was my day off just to get up to my eyeballs in chicken poo and quail poo. So it's lovely. Hi Dan. Dan is in the chat. Robert's Farm says 12 out of 14 quail hatched. That is amazing. Okay, that is a really, really, really good hatch rate for quail. I have never had a hatch rate that high for quail, so that's really, really good. I think we need to be getting our eggs from Robert's Farm, because that is very good fertility. Alana says, "No anxiety, that must have been fabulous." It was. I kind of was in this weird world outside. I was cleaning out the quails. I'm trying to... The quails until now have been on just soil that I've been scraping out, and it's just been so wet this winter that it's just turned muddy and poopy and gross. So I've scraped everything out and I've been putting down gravel. And I think that will actually be better for when the pheasants are in there too. I think the plan is I'll get a couple of big planters to put some shrubs and things in, because pheasants do tend to like a bit of... camouflage and places they can hide away. But the quail definitely could do with some gravel in there. Caroline B says, I'll have to get some pictures of my chickens. Got some massive ones. So Caroline has tons and tons of chickens. I know you've had chickens for ages. So you'll have to get some pictures of them so we can see them. Thomas says, "I've done your suggestion about the bald patch grass, and congratulations on your job. Soon, will you be breeding cows and sheep?" I would love to be breeding cows and sheep. The nice thing, so I'm getting paid and I'm getting experience, but the nice thing also about this job is obviously every week we spend an hour and a half on a Saturday night just getting geeky over chickens and vegetables and just really loving this kind of niche that we're in. But now I get to go to work and talk endlessly for hours to people who love sheep. and who love cows and don't think I'm weird and don't get bored with the conversation. And it's blimmin' wonderful. It's marvellous. So it's giving me a lot of contacts as well. I mean, I know a lot of you know that I want to keep pedigree red poll cows in the future. There's already 2 people that work at the farm park that have contacts in that area. I'm also hoping that I might be able to find pasture that I can rent to get a few sheep on. Again, it's all being within the industry and making contacts and networking, so it could work out really well. So even if we don't do any filming on the farm park itself, there may be opportunities over the coming year to expand kind of what I have and keep more stuff maybe on separate pasture or whatever. So there's a good start to 2018. Thomas says, I love Highland cows. I love them as well. They have 2 beautiful Highlands. They've got a beige and a brown. They can be a bit scatty. I've been in with them once and they were lovely cows. They weren't any problem for me, but I know that one of my colleagues doesn't like them very much because they go for him. Gardening with AJ says, leeks, onions, toms, peppers, parsley, sweet peas and mixed salad leaves. They're all in already. Wow, you are ahead of me. I haven't got my... What have I got in? Let me look. I haven't got my leeks in. I've got spring onions, so they're going away. I haven't done my toms. I've done my peppers, and they are just starting to come up. Parsley, yes. Sweet peas, yes. And I haven't got any mixed salad leaves going. So actually, AJ, you're well ahead of us. And I hope that new greenhouse... AJ went out and got a new greenhouse, so I hope it's doing really, really well for you. Robert's Farm on those quail eggs says, I got the eggs off a friend and she keeps her quail in huge pens in her living room, so they are warm and healthy. I'm very pleased. I just really tried to put the correct amount of water in. That can definitely help. Well, I mean, with this ectopsy, you saw that a lot of them were clear, and that may well be because they're kept outside. I know that the roosters have been mating because there is some of that foamy stuff that I've showed you before. So I know they've been mating. But obviously, because it's the middle of the winter, maybe the hens haven't been quite as receptive or the roos haven't been quite as good at doing their job. Obviously, because she's been keeping them in her living room, as you say, I expect it's warmer, and so their fertility is higher. But we'll see as we go. I'll do another quail hatch for sure this year. And so 10 are the normal brown colour, cool, and 2 are yellow, but will be white when mature. Yeah, so the yellow chicks turn into white quail, and the normal brown ones, you can often, there's a sort of scale on the normal brown ones, so you can get the really dark brown ones, but then you can get, as they develop, some of the stripy ones sometimes get sort of goldeny colours, and they're really, really pretty. You can get the pharaoh coloured quail as well, so that's really, really exciting. Anna says, I think I speak for all of us when I say we think you're brilliant. That's why we all tune in on Saturday night. Well, I think you're brilliant because there would be no Saturday Night Live without all of you. It would just be me with my cold cup of tea normally, because I've been chatting so long it goes cold, just rabbiting on to no one. So you guys make it the Saturday Night Live stream that we all enjoy, because I think we're building a really nice community here. But thank you very much for saying that, Anna. I appreciate it. Alana started sowing really early, like pre-Christmas early. She says, I've only got peppers, chilies, tomatoes and Cape gooseberries so far. I need the weather to warm up. Well, so she says she's only got that many going, but I've seen pictures. And they're quite good. They make me a bit jealous. So Caroline B. So Caroline's got Brahmas and Winadots. I love Winadots. They are so pretty. They're a bit big for me because I don't have the space here, but I'm going to be relating back to Barleylands a lot, but they have a couple of Winadot cockerels there, and they're beautiful, beautiful birds. Robert's Farmer says, is it too early to plant potatoes? I would be looking at planting potatoes next month. So you normally get 2 varieties of potatoes. You get your early potatoes and then you get your second potatoes, your main crop potatoes. Normally, whenever I put potatoes in, I normally start my first earlies in March. So you might want to hold off just a little bit, because if those... potato shoots are frost tender, so if you do put them in too early and they come up and they get frosted, it won't necessarily kill the potato, but it will stunt it, and it will kind of hit it back, because those frosted tips will die, and then that tuber has to put energy into more growth to create more growing tips. So I would leave it till next month if you can. The veg grower says, I'm looking to hatch some quail eggs soon as my quails are mating. Any advice on how to do this? So I find quails very easy to hatch, easier than chickens. Not necessarily the fertility ratios, but they're very hard to candle because they're all the speckles. So I literally just dry hatch. I don't do any humidity now in those Octo-10s until the lockdown day. And that's when I fill all the water reserves up and get the humidity really high. The rest of the hatch, I literally just leave them completely dry. They take they incubate at the same temperature as chickens, so 37.5 degrees centigrade. You need to. I tend to turn them more than I would turn my chicken eggs. So I turn my chicken eggs twice a day. I tend to turn my quail eggs 3 or 4 times a day. I've never read that anywhere. I just tend to do that because I think maybe because they're smaller eggs, the embryo needs turning more frequently. What else? You can fit tons in an incubator, 37.5 degrees. No water. I do the dry hatch, as I said, and they take 16 to 17 days hatching. So unlike the chickens where you'd be doing lockdown on day 18 or 19, or possibly day 17 if you're hatching bantams, with your quail chicks, you want to be putting them into lockdown on day 14, 15, because otherwise you'll go in to fill up the water reserves and you'll notice they're already pipping. Alana says, are quail best kept in pairs or several females to one male, or can the hens be kept on their own? Really fancy a few quail at some point. So in general, let me answer these questions as I go. So are quail best kept in pairs or several females to one male? The second. You can keep them in pairs, but you won't get very many eggs. Now, they will go broody. So I've never had quail go broody, and they've been so commercially bred that they rarely go broody. But if you put them in a big run and it's well planted up, I know people that have just put pairs in and they've managed to get the pair, as they would in the wild, to lay, incubate and raise babies. I would go, if you want the eggs and a nice little group, for one male to every 3 or 4 hens. I think it's preferable to have a couple of cockerels if possible, because hens can gang up on the rooster, and I've heard stories where the hens have actually turned around and ended up killing the rooster. So it's worthwhile sometimes having a couple, say 4 hens to 2 boys. That ratio kind of works out quite well. And hens can be kept on their own completely, but it's the boys that help stimulate the eggs. So unlike chickens, where if you keep chickens on their own, they will just lay. I have kept hen quail on their own without any cockerels, and they just didn't lay. And as soon as I put a rooster in, they started laying. So that kind of the presence of the male being there stimulates kind of the egg laying. Unlike how it works with chickens, where chickens will just keep on laying regardless of who's around. Jeffrey is here. Welcome to the chat, Jeffrey. And he says, how old does silver-laced winner dots have to be to start laying eggs? So most chickens are going to start from upwards of 6 months. So 6 months would be the very, very earliest, but you're probably looking at 9 months before they start going. Now, it doesn't necessarily depend on breed type. Sometimes I find that the bigger birds do take slightly longer to lay, but then that can be said of other birds as well. You know, when I first started keeping Polands, I was told to not expect any eggs for at least 10 months. And then when Monkey started laying, I think she laid her first egg at 7 months. So all hens are slightly different. But in general, chickens won't become point of lay to 7, 8, 9 months. So don't be looking for eggs before those dates. Fringe Dweller says, Jeff, did you give up on the mealworms? I still have got that tub of mealworms, but I must admit it's kind of become a forgotten thing. That I throw them some apple every week. I keep them topped up in oatmeal, but they've kind of just got cast aside because so many other projects are going on. And it is really something that I need to get back to, and I would really like to focus on it this year. Mealworms are very heat sensitive as well, so we don't heat our house that much. We tend to have it quite cool, so it means that in the winter they just kind of stop laying eggs and go into a bit of a hibernation zone. So as it starts to get a bit warmer and we start to get more mealworm babies, more eggs, I will try and get that project back on track, because I have still got the colony that I started 2 years ago now, but I need to really get it going, because I would like to get back onto it. Robert's Farm says it was a real shame at the auction the other day. There were many ill birds. One had wryneck. Oh no. And that was a Brahma. There was a Brahma that didn't look very well, so I left and didn't buy anything. I know I'm becoming more and more aware that auctions aren't a great place to buy birds. I now have a closed flock. So closed flock is where I won't bring in any birds. I haven't got anywhere to quarantine birds. If you've got somewhere to quarantine birds, then fair enough, buy birds in. Make sure you quarantine them well away from all the rest of your flock so they don't infect them. I haven't got the space here, so I'm running a closed flock now. So the only things that I will bring in are hatching eggs. Now, hatching eggs can still be a problem. You might have heard that mycoplasma can actually pass from hen to egg. It actually reduces the possibility of hatch. So if an egg has come from a mycoplasma mum and the mycoplasma has been passed to the embryo, that egg is less likely to hatch. So if you do bring in hatching eggs and they hatch, the risk that they're carrying that mycoplasma is extremely low. So I still do bring in hatching eggs, but as for new birds, I don't like to do it because auctions are just it's like going to the doctors when you have flu. You're more likely to catch stuff in the waiting room. And it's the same when you go to chicken auctions. You don't know the provenance, so you don't know where these chickens have come from, how they've been raised. They're just a random bird on in a box. And even if they were perfectly well when they got there, you've got cockerels and geese and chickens and all sorts coughing and spluttering all over the place. Not to mention all the humans that are coming in. My auction, there's no foot dip there, so you could be bringing in all sorts. So I'm going off places. I'd probably buy from the National Poultry Show because you can be sure of where the birds are coming from. But an auction, I'm becoming less likely to buy birds there. Kat said, I've had a noise complaint against my cockerels and my dogs. I don't think they make enough noise to be classed as a nuisance. Have any of you had this problem? Well, firstly, Kat, I'm really sorry that's happened because it can be quite stressful. You've had a noise complaint against your dogs. Has anybody actually come out? Has the council come out to have a chat with you about that? I haven't had that problem. I don't know whether I'm obviously behind the chat, so I don't know whether somebody has already answered you. Danielle says Quail should be about 5 girls to 1 boy to make sure the girls don't get overmated. And so Danielle also makes a very good point. The girls can get really overmated because boys just go round and round and round and they'll keep going. I don't have quite that ratio. I probably have more roosters to girls than that, and they're all right. But again, they're in quite a big flock, and I think there's 17, 18, 19 in that flock, and they've got quite a big space as well, so they've got space to run and get out of the way. If you're keeping them in a more confined area, you might want to rethink ratios. And Fringe Jordan says, what is the difference between normal quail and jumbo quail, and which are yours? I think mine are normal quail. I'm not entirely sure what a jumbo quail is, whether it's just a bigger quail? I don't know. I think mine are normal quail. So I started with what I thought was a pure Texas A&M quail, and that's a commercial quail. It's a cross. So it's a cross between your normal Coturnix quail and your English large white, and they cross. So what they actually look like is a big white bird with a black spot on the back of its head. So that's what I thought I had. They grew up, they mated, I hatched the eggs, and when I hatched the eggs, it's then that all these different colours coming out. I didn't even know you could get different colours until they started hatching, and they started feathering up. So I'm fairly sure, maybe I've got the cross, maybe I've got the normal and the jumbo because they've been crossed, I don't know. I just know that mine are Coturnix. Let's see what everybody else is saying. So Liz is saying her Wyandotte is 13 months old and still no eggs. Blimey. What's going on with her? That's quite a way to what? A way to wait. That's quite a while to wait. Kat is saying no one has come yet. So I wonder, who did the letter come from? Was it from the council? The complainer has to record our noise for 3 weeks before the council will investigate. Oh, well, that's kind of good in a way, because I guess you can try and keep the noise down. I guess that's the only piece of advice I can kind of give you, I guess, is because you've got 3 weeks, just try and keep it really quiet for 3 weeks, and then the council won't come out. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think councils want to get involved in these things because it is you know, neighbour disputes between neighbours, especially over noise, is just really hard and takes, you know, our councils haven't got enough money as it is, so they really don't want to be coming out. So I hope for your sake that it all goes plain sailing, but it's not nice to know that somebody is there kind of listening to you and trying to keep tabs on what you're doing. Anna is saying the sheep with large ears in the video were so gorgeous, as were the goats and the cows. Yeah, so those sheep with the large ears are Border Leicesters, and they're quite a rare breed now. You don't find them on many commercial farms, and they're more of a specialist sheep. They're really, really pretty. We've got a couple that are due twins in the lambing shed. And I can't wait to see their babies, because their babies come out the normal lamb size, but they still have the really, really long ears. We've got one particularly large one that I think possibly when she was scanned, she might have had a triplet hiding below twins, because she is almost a third of the size larger than another Border Leicester that we think has got twins. So they are the sweetest little sheep. Quite scatty, but lovely. Sandra says, I constantly ask my neighbours if my cockles annoy anyone, just so I know that they can come to me, which is a very, very good idea, and I do the same with mine. Dogs generally only bark if somebody is at the door. Caroline says, unless the council has spoken to you or sent a letter, your neighbour can't even do anything, even the police will. Yeah, the police do not even get involved in that anymore. The police don't want to know. I mean, they're stretched so thinly, they've got no time. Yeah, but Sandra's point about asking neighbours is a good idea. Obviously, it's already escalated to a point where you've got a complaint, but I do talk to my neighbours now and then and just ask them. And obviously, because I'm planning on getting guineas, I'm going to have to be even more on it in terms of asking them. Now, the nice thing, I know that guineas can be really, really, really loud. However, we do have some at Barleylands, and they are so used to people that they're really quiet. So I'm hoping that if I hatch them as Keats, get them used to being around the dogs, people, strangers, the doves when they fly over. If they get used to all the normal stuff, they won't be horrendously loud. I'm not going to kid myself. I know they're going to be loud, but I'm hoping they'll get used to most of the main stuff, so that when the predators come along, the fox, they will make the racket, and that's the racket that I want them to make, so I can rush down. Probably in my dressing gown, because they'll do it at some inconvenient time. So Robert's Farm says, are you getting sheep when you move to Brimwood Farm? Yes, we are. And he says, how many dogs do you think you'll have, and when you have Border Collies? I don't know whether we'll have Border Collies, because just Collies take a lot of training. And, you know, if you get a sheepdog, you can't just go and get a sheepdog willy-nilly. You need to get a sheepdog with the mind of, you are going to train that, you are going to take the time to take it out, to properly train it with the sheep and all of that. That's not really something I'm interested in. We'll just obviously have our 2 dogs. We'll probably rescue more dogs in the future, but we're definitely going to have sheep. And with the theme of the local rare breeds and the local breed types, we're going to be having Suffolks. Now, Suffolk sheep are not rare in the slightest. In fact, they're one of the most commercial sheep in the entire world now. But we are going to be in Suffolk, so obviously we have to have some Suffolk sheep, and probably they will be my main pedigree breed. They're really, really easy to lamb as well, which is another thing. I don't want to be getting breeds, particularly that are difficult when it comes to offspring, because, you know, lambing is a difficult time as enough. So I want a sheep to be able to basically do it on its own without me. Jeffrey Arp says he has 2 Buff Orpingtons, about 5 months old, a 2-year-old silky hen, oh silky, and 7 silky chicks, about 2.5, and he's in the US. Cool. What type? Where in the US are you, Jeffrey? How many silky chicks have I got at the moment? I've got 5, 6, 7. So I've got 8 silky chicks at the moment. I've got 5 from last year. They're not really chicks anymore. They're kind of growing up, although they haven't yet developed their wattles or anything like that. So I don't know who's a girl and a boy. And then we have the 1 Ixworth. And we have 3 more silky chicks. Now, I would show you the Ixworth and go and grab him or her, but I've actually moved them into the conservatory tonight, so I'm doing a bit of acclimatisation. They came off the heat a long time ago. They've been in the living room for several weeks now, and I've moved them into conservatory so that they can start to acclimatise, so I can start adjusting them to lower nighttime temperatures, because they get to that stage where they're getting stinky. and they really need to go outside. So I'm kind of the same way as you do with plants, where you start to climatize them to the outside temperatures. I'm doing that with those chicks tonight, and hopefully, I know it's going to plummet in temperature this coming week, but hopefully next week, then maybe the temperatures will level off a little bit, and I can get them outside and into the shed, and they'll be able to bounce around with the others. So back on the council, Kat says the council sent the letter to tell us there had been a complaint. They would check the 3 weeks of noise records from the complainer. They might decide there's not enough noise to take it further. It really annoys me. It really annoys me, especially, you know, when there's really loud traffic and things like that, and then people start complaining because of a rooster or a dog barking or something like that. It gets my goat. Oh, and look, talking of goats, Robert's Farm says, do you like Golden Guernsey goats? I love all goats. They're so nice. I don't really know goats. I've never kept goats. I've not really been around a huge amount of goats. There are quite a few at Barleylands, and they're going to start kidding in 10 days. So in probably 2 weeks' time, I will know an awful amount about goats and different breed types. But I love goats, and I definitely want goats because I really like goat's milk. So Kat says, we're moving the dog run closer to the house and away from their house. I'm pretty sure we know who's complained. Yeah, so maybe do you think it's just the dogs or the cockerels too? It's a difficult one, isn't it? But maybe if the dog's run is closer to your house, they won't be as noisy, or if they're further away from your neighbours. Dan says, I live in an agricultural area, so the council don't care about noise complaints. Yeah, I mean, that's very true, but unfortunately, it's not always the way. I know a friend on Twitter runs an actual chicken business, so she actually rears chickens and sells point-of-lay chickens, and that's her entire business model. And she rented a field in an agricultural pasture field in a small, outside a small village. It was a few houses, fields all around. And she got a complaint, and they took it seriously, and she ended up having her rent taken away. She ended up getting kicked off her land, which I just thought was absurd, because it was in the countryside. If townies move to the countryside, they need to realise there's going to be agricultural noise. There's going to be tractors churning through the harvest at 11 p.m. at night, midnight even sometimes, and often these days without even a driver because they're GPS led. And they need to realise there's going to be cow noises, there's going to be sheep noises. And yeah, one little sheep making a bar might not sound a lot, but you get a whole flock, crikey, they are loud. Same with cows, same with chickens. So that does kind of annoy me. Patrick is here. Welcome, Patrick. And he says, hi, Jeff. Congratulations on the new job. Sounds amazing. It really is. I can't believe my luck. And you will enjoy it so much. Unfortunately, the red-legged partridge had to be put to sleep as the sinus infection had gotten so bad. Oh, bless it. That's really, really sad. So Jeff, so Patrick is part of the Brimwood Farm community group, and you are welcome, all of you, if you're on Facebook, to come across. And Patrick rescues a lot of birds, especially wild birds, and he had this lovely red-legged partridge in that had been hit by a car. So it's sad that it didn't make it, but I'm glad that, again, you deserve, you put out so much of your time to try and help these animals, so it's sad that it didn't make it, but I'm glad you tried to rescue it, and you did great guns with that little duckling, that little gosling. Dan says, I've got 10 roosters, and they're very noisy. Yeah, how many have I got? 5? Yeah, so I've got 5 roosters. Now, Skeksis is my silver-laced Poland, and he's in the bottom layer cook, and he's actually really, really quiet. Possibly because he's the only rooster with 19 girls. So he's fairly quiet. The other 4, so Barry, and then my 2 Danver boys, and then Bruce, they play round robin, and they were driving me bonkers today because Sard Jr., so my husband Sard named his little black rooster Sard Jr. So he is kind of the top pack. So you would think that Barry is, but actually Sard Jr. is the top pack. So he would crow, the next one would crow, the next one would crow, the next one would crow. They would go round and round and round in circles for hours. So I was trying to distract them today by I pulled up some of the old winter lettuces and fed those to them. Gave them some old kale leaves and tried to distract them. But they get so loud, and they do that round robin sort of calling to each other just to make sure they're all there. Oh, so I missed half of Patrick's message. So the antibiotics didn't work, but a coop with a shattered leg came, and a dunnock on the same night. Blimey. We can definitely tell spring is on the way for rescue, for 4 geese have been abandoned on the river. Blimey, so spring is on the way and you're getting all these beautiful birds coming into you. Caroline says, thank God I live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, exactly. It does help, especially when you have chickens, to be in the middle of nowhere. It's so nice. Oh, I know I'm talking about this so much, but it's so nice when I arrive at Barleylands at work in the morning and I can just hear the cockerels crowing off in the field. You know, they come out when the sun's up and the automatic doors open. They just come out and they crow, and there's no fear of noise complaints because they're just doing their thing and it's in the middle of the countryside, so it's really nice. Kat says, I really want to move to the country, have my own land and raise as many chickens and barks dogs as I like. I completely agree. I do too. Caroline says, where are you thinking of moving to? So Caroline, and anybody else that might be on this live chat, so we have 40 acres of land in Suffolk. It was my granddad's land, and it was passed on to my dad when he died, and we sold the majority of the buildings because they were in really bad state of repair, and we also sold a few acres of land as well. And the guy that bought them is from Stoke Newington, and he is actually a West End set designer, theatre set designer. For West End shows, and he has renovated these buildings and turned them into the most magnificent country holiday cottages. Lots of glass, lots of really thick oak timber frames, really, really beautiful. He's done a gorgeous job, and he's the nicest guy as well. Really, really nice. Very on board with what I want to do. And the 2 acres or 2 or 3 acres that he got sold along with those houses, he's turned into a beautiful orchard. So he's got hundreds of trees there now, apple trees. And so I still have the 40 acres there, and there is an old Dutch barn that we are going to be planning to build a house on. We're going to actually start the planning process this year, we hope, because it can take a couple of years to actually get the planning permission, especially if you submit plans and they're not agreed and there's a sort of a battle back and forth with what you can build and where you can build and such a thing. So that will be happening in the next, so the planning will be happening this year, hopefully, and into next year, and then hopefully we'll be starting the build in a couple of years' time. So it's not actually that far away now. So yes, so we will eventually be selling up here and then moving up to Suffolk. So Jeffrey is from New Orleans, Louisiana. Lovely. I live just outside the French Quarter. Very, very nice. Gardening with AJ says, I was about to say, show us the Ixworth chick. Yes, so Ixworth is out there, and I think it's going to be a boy, AJ. They do take a long time to be able to tell, but I'm instinctively thinking it's going to be a rooster. But I don't mind, because obviously, hopefully it will grow into a beautiful specimen, just as Eddie was, and then I will buy in some ladies for him. I need to go on a hunt, actually, for some Ixworth eggs. You've reminded me. Brian, hello Brian, welcome. Allotment Life, so Brian is here. Welcome, I'm glad you've managed to get online and participate. I'm going to have a quick slurp. Oh, that's better. Dan says, I'm so excited for lambing. We have 12 Suffolk ewes and 5 Texel crosses. I love lambing. So this new job, they've had an event on this week and we've got 42 ewes. And we're lambing them all, and then in a couple of weeks' time the other ewes will start lambing, and the nanny goats will start going to kidding as well. So it's all guns blazing at the moment. Brian said, I married an old goat. Lol. Oh dear, Brian, you're going to be sleeping in the greenhouse if your wife sees that. That's funny. Robert's Farm says, thanks for streaming, Jeff. It's been great. I'm going to go now and I'll be here next week. Bye. So bye, Robert's Farm. Thank you for stopping in. It's always a pleasure to see you and have a chat. The Veg Grower podcast says, as a country bumpkin, it annoys me when people move to the country. Exactly. Expecting quiet when the reality is the countryside is very noisy. Exactly. Cities and towns and the countryside, they're all very noisy. They're just all very different noises. People, townies, think they're going to move to the countryside and it's going to be blissful, and they're going to wake up to the smell of roses and the sound of little blackbirds peeping. And okay, on some days that might happen. But on more days than often you might count on your little fingers, you're going to wake up to the smell of manure wafting through your window as the manure is sprayed across the field. You're going to wake up to the hullabaloo of cows. Cows do not make a nice moo. Cows make a blimmin' awful sort of guttural sound. And when it's, it's dawn and there's wisps of fog and this kind of, I don't even know how to say it, this kind of shrish, deep moan comes, wafting across the fields. It can be quite haunting. Countryside is really, really loud. And we notice that when we're camping. It's not silent overnight. There's owls hooting and there's birds tweeting all the time, and it's not quiet at all. And it really annoys me when, as you say, people move there thinking it's going to be blissfully quiet, and then they start complaining and actually making official complaints. It's like, if you don't like the countryside and you don't like the sounds, go back to the town. Caroline says, my house backs onto a fishery and he has ducks. It's funny when they try to fly over the fence. It's great that I've got neighbours that understand. Yeah, I think understanding neighbours is the main thing that you look for wherever you are. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you live, is the neighbours. Anna says, Jeff, on your new farm, will you have any ducks? Yes, because I really, really like duck meat. And my granddad always used to keep muscovies. So we will definitely be having muscovy ducks. I also want to have geese. I would love to have some geese. And I would also like to have some ornamental ducks as well, because I do like a nice little ornamental duck. So hopefully some runners, maybe some Pekins, because Pekin ducks are really fast to turn around in terms of from duckling to duck meat. And definitely muscovies. Just scrolling down. Alana says, my cream leg bar cockerel keeps trying to attack my 6-year-old, but her hubby has decided he wants to keep him. He's interfering in my chickens again. Oh no. I think your cream leg bar is quite young, isn't he? I find that most cockerels go through an adolescent phase where they become really nasty. Really nasty. And if you can get over the nasty hump, if you can put up with it for a little bit, and do everything you need to do to stay safe, obviously, and there are all these tips, get them used to you. You can, pick them up if you can get hold of them and carry them around with you so they know you're boss and you're above them and you're no threat to them. You're just going to carry them around. If you can get past that, I find they settle down. Barry has become much better. Barry went through a few months where every single day I would come back after letting him out in the morning with scratches all over my hands where he'd pecked me. It was not fun. And it made going down there horrible, actually. But he is much more subdued now. I had it before I lost my Samani. He was the same. He used to be in the layers flock. And it made going into the layers flock awful because he would just attack me constantly. Again, that lasted maybe 2 months or so. And when he was a young rooster. So this was probably between the ages of 12 to 15 months, I would say. They just went. I find that they all go through this really sort of difficult adolescent phase where they want to attack everything. They're becoming really dominant, especially in the spring as well when hormones are raging. And if you can get them over that, they tend to calm down a little bit. So I hope that he calms down for you, Alana. And you'll have to have words with your husband or your partner. With your husband if he keeps attacking and your hubby won't let him go. Sandra says, I'm odd, I like noise. I love rural but love city too. Lived next to the Haymarket station in Edinburgh for years. I think it would drive me mad, Sandra, to have all that noise. I think we get very used to it, mind you. I remember that my dog's going to go mad now because Saad's just got home from the cinema. Do you remember when we had that big ash cloud that came down from Iceland and from the volcano and all the planes stopped? And suddenly I realised how much noise, how much ambient noise all the planes make when they're going overhead. It was so quiet. And when the planes started flying again, suddenly we had all this ambient noise, and it really showed how much we actually just get used to background noise. So I think wherever you live, if you live there long enough, if you live there long enough, look at his long hair, it's ridiculous. Tie it up.
No.
Yeah, if you live anywhere for long enough, you just get used to the sounds around you, don't you? I love the sounds that cows make, Dan. And Alyssa is saying Muscovies, heart, heart. I love Muscovies. And if you follow Alyssa, so Moat Cottage on Instagram, you will see that she has some beautiful Muscovies. I'm very jealous. I live vicariously through her Muscovies, I think. Kat says, Jeff, before I forget, will you be planting maple trees? So, seen some really good maple tapping vids this week. Well, I hadn't planned to, but now you've said that, I may have to look at some vids up as well, and that's a really, really good idea, actually, some maple trees. How well do they grow in Britain? I know nothing about maple trees or tapping maples or anything, so actually I'm going to look that up. That's a very good point. And Kat says, I got chased by a herd of cows when I was 14. I got stuck on a barbed wire fence, and I shouldn't be smiling, but I can't help it. I got stuck on a barbed wire fence trying to get away. I still think they're cute. Won't go near them though. Oh, Kat, that sounds like a terrifying story. I'm sure it was pretty terrifying at the time. It does come across quite funny though. But yeah, I think with all livestock, especially cows, because they're quite big, and horses and all things like that, you just have to be careful, don't you? I'm very... you have to be slow and steady around animals like that, because sudden movements make them lash out. They need to know you. I think you have to have a certain way about them. So Alana, so we're back on the cockerel. Alana says he's about 5 months old and obnoxious, noisy ass. I carry him around and let the dog sniff him. I much prefer the buff orpington cockerels. They can't jump up as much. Yeah, cream leg bars are thinner and less bulky than the old buff orpingtons. But at 5 months old, yes, he's not in even the adolescent stage. He's probably going through his early teens. But they can get a bit. Actually, 5 months. He's not even that old. I'm surprised he's getting feisty that quickly. But yeah, so you're doing the right thing though, picking him up and taking him around. Dan says, I want some barnacle geese. I love barnacle geese. And I want some of those tiny ducks. Barnacle geese are so pretty, and they're really, really small as well. I hadn't actually realised just how small they are. But barnacle geese are mini. Let's just have a look. Everybody's saying hi to you, Sard.
Sorry.
Everybody's saying hello.
Oh, hello.
He's saying hello back, if you can hear him. They're all saying hello to you.
Hello.
There we go, he's waving.
Tie my hair back.
Thank you. Anna says, Jeff, have you not bought a cup warmer? No, I haven't. And guess what? As always, it's almost stone cold. Lukewarm. It's all right. I'll put it in the microwave later. Ross says, birch trees is what you need to look in for tapping the syrup in the UK. It's pretty easy, very bushcrafty. Cool. So well, I'm going to look up birch trees as well then in that case, because that's something I hadn't even considered. But what a great idea. Jay from Hilltop Farm Homestead says, I've seen some of those maple videos and you need so much sap to get a very little syrup. I know that, unfortunately, that's often the way. I also saw a few weeks ago, I saw a guy making sunflower oil from sunflower seeds, and it looked amazing. But again, the same thought. He needed such a vast quantity of sunflowers to put through this sunflower seeds to put through this grinder to make this tiny pot of sunflower oil. So I think whatever comes out at the end, you really have to savour it. You can't be gulping it down. You've really got to take your time and remember how much work went into it as you're savouring that tiny little teaspoonful. Dan says, I got given a nosebleed by my cow when I tried to hug her. That serves you right for hugging her. She headbutted me and I bled for 30 minutes. Blimey. Cows can be territorial and heavy-handed things. And sometimes they think they're being nice. You know, a headbutt, she might have thought she's being affectionate. But but nose bleeding for 30 minutes is not what you want. Guys, I've reached the end of the chat. Yay! That's great. Ross says Sard is very dapper, and Anna says I was going to say the same thing. Sard is very dapper. Sard is very fashionable. You know, I'm the scruffy one in this relationship. I just throw on a hoodie. I've got my old jeans, throw on some wellies, and I'm done. As you've seen in videos, Sard is a shirt, a waistcoat, that kind of man. Wherever he goes as well, wherever he goes. He's always done up. Caroline B says, the only problem I have is I have one then neighbour and her 6 horses. She thinks she owns the lane. I'm not going to talk about horsey people, but some horsey people do think they're slightly superior to everybody else. Ross says, I'm scared of cows. Try walking through a field with a tin of sweet corn trying to go fishing. Well, yes, if you walk through a field with a tin of sweet corn with cows in it, I expect those cows are going to come. I love cows, not scared at all. I am, however, scared of pigs. I just find pigs scary. I think it's because I know they're slightly more intelligent. A cow, fairly unintelligent. It's acting on, a lot of the time I think they're acting on behaviour, it's acting on instinct, and so if you can kind of understand that and get around them, then you're okay. Same with a lot of livestock. Pigs, I think, are super intelligent, and I feel when I'm with them that if a pig decided just one day it didn't really like you, a cow is not going to suddenly decide, oh, I don't like Jeff today. A cow is, I would have to do something to that cow for it to react. A pig, I think, because of the intelligence thing, this is just in my brain, by the way, there's no fact behind this, but I think that a pig could just turn around and say, oh, I don't like Jeff today, and just go for me. And pigs could be fairly vicious. And I think I was also kind of a little bit scarred by some films I've seen in the past. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was a film where somebody died and they fed him to the pigs. This kind of freaked me out. So it's kind of nice that Barleylands has a couple of pigs because I'm getting used to them. I've been in with them, I've mucked them out, I've given them a pat. So I'm going to overcome this fear of... It's not a huge fear of pigs, I'm just a little bit wary. So hopefully I can get over that problem. The veg grower says, I'm defo the scruff in my relationship. Me too. We're in it together. I can't be bothered. If I'm going to go down the garden every morning and get covered in poo, I'm not going to dress up for sure. Trees is here. Trees, Woods and Forest Gardens is here. And he says, best to walk around the herd and not through the middle. Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I try and edge my way carefully. And if you can, around the head end. Because cows do like to kick. Even if you get slightly near them. Alana says, one of my lecturers likes to take the piss out of his horseologists. I went to an agricultural college for a while and they definitely lived up to the stereotype. I know, I must put a disclaimer out. I do know many lovely horsey people, and I'm sure you get this in all walks of life as well, but there is that stigma attached to horsey people, that they sort of stiff upper lip, quite snooty as it were, and there are those candidates out there that definitely live up to that stereotype. Charlie says, hello Charlie, by the way, hello. What is the worst comment you got on your channel? Worst comment? I have to say that I've been very lucky, and although we're over 3,000 subscribers now, I haven't had a huge amount of trolling. I'm probably jinxing myself by saying this, but I haven't had a huge amount of trolling. I've had a few people... So the Quail video that blew up, that is over now, I think 110,000 views. A few people have commented on that, especially where they're saying, oh, I came here for a cute video and now you're talking about popping quails' heads off. And I think one girl went on a rant about it, about how she was going to make it her life's work to try and make me go to hell or something. And then there's a couple of comments as well on the rooster video where I put my roosters into boxes at night saying I'm torturing them. I wonder whether those people have actually watched the entire video to show that they're not living in the box. They just go in there at night, so it's really no different than going to a roost, only that I'm not torturing them at all. In fact, I'm keeping them alive, because if they're outside crowing in the morning, my neighbours are going to get very peed off very quickly, and that would probably be the end of them. So as I say, I am actually quite lucky in the lack of horrible comments so far. But I'm fully prepared to get attacked, because I'm running a channel where we do butchering, and I do eat my animals, so I'm well prepared. But yeah, that's a good question, Charlie. Thanks. So Jay says, pigs bother me too. I've seen the many movies about serial killers feeding victims to pigs. Yeah, exactly. And there's something about the eyes. Again, I think it's the intellect. When a cow looks at you, she just looks, duh, I like you, I'm going to lick you. Whereas when a pig looks at you, I almost feel like they're looking into you. They're understanding you. And that, again, that creeps me out a little bit because, again, they could be plotting to kill you. So, yes. So it seems a lot of you are wary of pigs, actually. So Alana's very wary of pigs as well there. We'll have to ask. What am I trying to say? We'll have to ask Liz. Because Liz is umming and ahhing about pigs. So if she gets pigs in the future, we'll have to ask Liz how she feels about that. Sook Mike Hock says, "What's up, brother? What's up? Thank you for coming by to the Saturday night live stream tonight. Well, it's great to have you here." Sandra says, "I'm the scruff, and there is only me." Chicken poo on the shoulder normally. Normally my chicken poo is right down here. Because, yeah, as you say, they've sat on my shoulder and then pooped down my back. Alana, I'm glad we're all... So, okay, we're all homesteaders here and we're also all scruffs. This is great. Alana says, "I'm definitely the scruff. Hoodie and wellies is pretty standard." Yep, I agree. Whereas my other half is always in a shirt. He pulls off the smart hips to look very well. Well, they must like us for some reason, mustn't they? So we can be scruffy at home. Gardening with AJ says, "Going way back, like hundreds of years ago, people who ride horses, they would have been superior." Actually, that's true. So maybe that's where the stigma comes from, because to own a horse, to ride a horse back then, you would have had to be more wealthy, I guess, than the average Bob. Gardening with AJ says, with the pigs, they can see you and they want to eat me. It's definitely true. And Ross is saying a pig is definitely working out just how to eat you first. Yeah, I agree. Jay says, "I think pigs look at you and imagine you with an apple in your mouth." That's funny. I think they do. I think they are going to rise up. It's like that advert. We had an advert over here in the UK where it said, "What if cats got disposable thumbs?" Which basically meant they could then use their hands to open locks and all that sort of thing. And then they would really be plotting to kill us. Liz, so good old Liz by the farm says, "Desperate to get a couple of pigs. Still trying to sort out a suitable living place for them to live." So definitely we're going to follow Liz's channel and make sure she's not devoured by pigs, but she can show us that actually they're not bad things to keep, and they are lovely animals. Actually, I'm sure they are lovely animals. I have started to grow affection for a couple of the pigs. There's a huge Gloucester old spot called Gertie at Barleylands, and another Berkshire, so a rare breed Berkshire pig called Polly, and I have given them a few pats, so they might grow on me. I think the other thing is Saad, obviously being Muslim, doesn't eat pig. So on our farm, for example, would there be any point in having pig? Because I generally don't eat any pig now, because it's not that I can't have it in the house, but I'm not going to share a meal of pig with Saad. So what is the point of keeping it? Ross says, "How did you not laugh reading that?" I know, right? Liz said, "We went out for dinner tonight with our neighbours. We both went in wellies." Brilliant. I think that is perfect. My dog is just gagging over there in the corner. Lovely. Aren't dogs nice? Calendula Fields is here. Welcome to the chat, Calendula. And Moat Cottage says, "Bird people are definitely awesome." I know I've got the nickname now at work as the chicken guy, because a lot of the other people like the really large animals. And I love the large animals, but I also appreciate chickens and birds too. So I'm going to try and do my best to kind of make sure that side of the farm also excels. Caroline says, "But Babe the pig is so cute." It is, but you know what really annoys me about Babe? Because I, as a child, listened to the audiobooks over and over and over. And the Babe film, for me, is so Americanized that it's just wrong. It's like Hollywood decided to do a British film in a British setting without actually knowing what a British farm was like. So the Babe film I can't watch without cringing. Anna says, "I love micropigs, too cute." I know the problem with micropigs is that the true micropig is very hard to find, because Micro pigs tend to grow into big pigs. Alana says, pigs in fields are okay, but I had to go inside pig pens when I was younger. I was always worried they'd knock me over and have a nibble. I know, Suffolk has a lot of fields with huge pigs in. They have all the pig arks and things, which is really nice. And I like to see them out that way in the middle of the field with all those pigs and the mud and the pig arks. I watched a smallholding documentary a couple of years back. There was a guy down in Somerset, I think, and he had pigs. And he loved his pigs, but he would crawl into the pig ark and lie down next to the pig just to say good morning and give them a pat and stuff. And that would freak me out. Like, at least if you're standing next to a pig, you can run. If you're lying down next to a pig, no, you're never going to catch me doing that because I'd be too scared. I'm not ignoring you, Suck my cock. Ask a question and I will sure to do my best to answer you. Buddy Mojo is here. Hi, welcome to the chat, Buddy Mojo. Gardening with AJ says the rise of the pigs. And Kat, so Kat loves pigs. She says, I love pigs. Mr. G was farrower for 10 years, so I got to snuggle up with many piggies and piglets. Yeah, I guess when they're little and small and cute, it's very nice. Babe is the pig equivalent of Dick Van Dyke's accent in Mary Poppins. You are so spot on there. It's just really annoys me. And that little, they've made the little farmhouse, which looks nothing like any farmhouse would ever look like over here in actual Britain. It's kind of that Hollywood stereotype, I guess. So Mike Kochi says, isn't Babe Australian? It was made here. My friends trained the sheep. Oh, so maybe it was made in Australia. I don't know. It just annoys, because it's a very British... the book is by a British author, and when I read it, when I listened to it in the... what am I trying to say? When I listened to it in the audiobooks as a kid, I loved it. So I was really excited for the film to come along, and it wasn't really how I expected it to be. The same with Charlotte's Web. I had that on audiobook as well, and I loved it. And then the film came along, and it was just different. The veg grower says, interesting fact, pigs will be pregnant for 3 months, 3 weeks and 3 days. I know, isn't that cool? Doesn't that work out perfectly? I was told that by a pig farmer over 25 years ago and never forgot that. I think I learned that on my training day about that. It's very cool. It's very symmetry. No, it's not symmetry. There's a word. There's a mathematical word for that, but I just don't know it. And Lana says, oh no, I couldn't be confined in space with one. No, nor me. It's scary. Horses don't like you. So Buddy Mojo asks, how are the chicks doing? The chicks are doing really, really well. I haven't lost any yet. So obviously we lost that 9th chick at the very beginning. But so far, all the 8 chicks that are in that little brood are now doing really, really well. Bustling around. I love little baby quail chicks. They're the size of bumblebees. They look like they're going to topple over constantly. They're really, really lovely. So we'll see how they're doing. Liz says, Jeff, you are a superstar. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you said that. I'm not sure why you did, but thank you, Liz. You are too. Charlie says, how are the finches? Finches are really, really good. So you know that I found the eggs. The eggs haven't hatched. I don't really know what's going on in that nest box. I haven't taken them out. What may have happened is she may have started to lay a clutch that were infertile, and then that's why then she lost interest a bit, and she's going back in and out a lot. So I'm going to check on them tomorrow and see what's going on. But they are really, really happy there. They're all going in and out of their nest boxes now, so hopefully we will see some progress soon, because I would love to have babies to show you. I actually have got babies in the outside aviary. They've been breeding throughout the winter. But these ones that I've separated to get the colours are just not really doing anything. AJ says, Jeff, do you still do the microgreens? I'm going to get back into it. I kind of stopped it for a little bit because I needed the shelving for something else, and I kind of just got out of the process. I think I did 3 or 4 lots of microgreens, and then I stopped re-sewing everything. So I've still got the packets, so I do need to start re-sewing, because it was a really, really good way of producing microgreens in a small space. Like Caroline says, she's off now for work tomorrow at 5:10 a.m. Blimey, Caroline, go and get some sleep. Thank you so much for popping it in. Kat says, I think Liz is drunk again. Lol. And Gardening with AJ says, I love the stop animation of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Suck Mike Hawk, please, I'm saying hi to you. Please ask a question and I will get around to saying hi to you, I promise. Hilltop Farm Homestead. So Jay says 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. I'm drawing a 666 parallel. Yes, it's so true. Pigs are great livestock and like to keep clean and defecating in one corner, unlike cows and sheep. Yes, that is one thing I'm really finding with this job. We can just mound all the fresh straw and stuff in the bedding up in one corner, and they won't go to the toilet in it. They'll get up and go somewhere else, which is really nice. It makes our lives a lot easier. Liz says she doesn't drink alcohol, so she's always sober. And Dan says, my fancy pigeon crushed her 2 eggs, and I don't think she's bothering about starting a family anymore. I don't think she's a very good... How old is she? I wonder if she needs to just... Because sometimes the young birds can do that. They don't really know what's going on. So they sort of crush their eggs, or they don't look after them properly. So maybe she's young, perhaps. And Charlie is asking about the Budgies again. The Budgies, we've had a bit of an up and down with the Budgies. We lost... So we had those 2 chicks. We lost one. We lost that chick. It was making a weird clicking noise when I was taking it out of the nest box. And I just, sadly, when I put it back in the nest box, I am going to block them then. Hang on, if I can work out how to do it. I'll remove. There we go, we've taken them away. Thank you for that, Anna and Jay. So the Budgies, we lost the second one. And we, unfortunately, when I put them back in, I noticed that the older chick is also... The other chick is also making that clicking noise now. It's also lost all the down on its back, so I don't know what is going on with these. I'm hoping that we can get that second chick through. I've basically ivermectin them all. Somebody said that we might have had a bit of an air sac mite situation. The parents weren't making any signs of that, but I was worried that the chick might have got it because it's more vulnerable. So I have treated it, and it does look a little bit better. As I say, the fluffy down on it has all disappeared. So I don't know whether Sunny is perhaps plucking it. She is still feeding it though, so fingers crossed, and we'll see how it gets on. I would really like it to get on because I think it might actually be one of Pluto's babies because its quill feathers are all coming out white. There's no hint of green or yellow on it. That was all of the last chicks. So I would like it to survive to see what happens. So, right, I think I have managed to remove that troll. I'm very sorry about that. It was distracting me as well because they were in bright pink, so they were glaring at me from the screen, which was really, really annoying. Right, let's get back on track. So Alana says, poor chick, fingers crossed. I know, it's really sad, but I do every night when I wake up and I can hear it, I'm like, it's still alive, that's good. But it doesn't look great. So if it dies, don't be too disappointed because I think it might. Fringe Dweller says, the weather has been quite mild today in Manchester. I got to go out on the back of my partner's motorbike. Cool, that's something I've always wanted to do and never had a chance to. So that must have been really nice. It was really mild down here as well. I had all the doors open, got good airflow coming through. I took the chicks outside for the first time, got lots of jobs done in the garden, cleaned all the quails out, scraped all the nest boxes and the perches down in the layers flock. Did loads of stuff today, and Sard, although I wasn't working today, Sard was up at the Falconry Centre, so I also popped up there to check on the sheep, see if we had any more lambs, said hello to everybody, and then obviously I went to pick him up again later. So it's been a really nice day here. Ross says, I had a chick with parasite once, had to dispatch them, ended up crying at the end. It's horrible dispatching chicks. I hate it because at least when you're dispatching like a cockerel or something, it's going for a purpose, and you've grown it for a purpose to eat. But when you have to dispatch chicks because they're ill, it's horrible. I've actually been very lucky with chicken chicks. I've only had to dispatch a very couple, and I've only had to do them very early on, literally 24 to 48 hours after they've come out of the egg. And that is super easy because you only just need a pair of scissors, you can hide the head, and you can do it, and it's done. So I'm not surprised. It's not a very nice thing. Good Game Bees and Homestead is here. Hello everyone, first time in this live stream. Thank you for stopping by, it's really nice to see you. We are heading towards the end because we're over here in the UK, so it's almost Oh, it's almost 11:30, in fact. But we'll be going for a little while longer. So thank you for stopping by. Gardening with AJ says it's been dry and 6 to 8 degrees here, so lots done. More garlic in, and hopefully no builders this time. Yeah, we don't want more builders crushing all your plants. 6 to 8 degrees. I think it's been a bit warmer here. I think it got up to about 10 or 11 here, which was lovely. Budgie Motion says, will your chickens eat pumpkin? Mine just ignore it. I have actually never tried them on pumpkin, so I don't know. But I do know lots of people putting pumpkins in and opening them up, squashing them up and cutting segments out to give to them. I've never tried them, so I'm not entirely sure. Alana says, I'm hoping the weather will be nice tomorrow so I can finally plant my fruit bushes. What fruit bushes have you got, Lana? I would love to hear about that. I think it's supposed to be really nice tomorrow. It's Sunday tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, it's supposed to be really nice tomorrow and really nice Monday. And then for this area, so in Essex, it's supposed to get cold again. Sandra says, was really nice here in central Scotland. I hope that means your snow has started to melt. However, I spent days putting my fences back up. Oh no, because of the wind probably. They have stood for decades. The rest of the street flat fences too. It has been a bit of a pain. Luckily, I haven't lost fencing this year. And after I put in those posts, you might have seen on Smallholding Diaries, I kind of wedged some posts along. They survived the last storm, so I'm hoping we're going to be all right. Kat says, my chickens won't eat nettles. I keep seeing that they should like them, but no such. Mine won't eat nettles either. They hate them. I've got huge patches of nettles that I thought they might devour, and they haven't at all. I think we'll have to leave those nettles for the goats. Charlie says, will you be putting more eggs in the incubator? Now, Charlie, do you not know me at all? Yes, I will be. So I've got the 2 incubators. I'm going to do another quail hatch. I am going to be putting some of those silky, so Barry's now on with his first generation, so we're going to be doing that whole marshmallow thing a bit more, so we'll be putting his eggs on. When my Danvers start laying up, they'll be going in as well. And I spoke briefly about this on yesterday's quail video. At the bottom, in my main layers flock, I have 4 Poland hens and a silver-laced Poland cockerel. Now, I don't have anywhere to separate those Poland girls to collect their eggs. But I do know they lay a fairly small white egg. So we're going to do a potluck, and in a couple of weeks I'm just going to gather up over several days all of the small white eggs and incubate them. The majority of those will be the silver-laced Poland cockerel, Skeksis, and some of my Poland girls. My I am Samani hen does lay small white eggs, as do a couple of the silky hybrids, so there will probably be a couple of those in the mix as well. But I'm kind of interested to see what, a silver-laced Poland crossed with an I am Samani will look like. So we're going to do that hatch, and I might use those for the chick check as well, because they're going to come out all different colours, a bit of a potluck variety of types, so that'll be fun to see them progress from the hatching all the way through to adults. Anna was saying, speaking of bees, when will we start seeing them? I'd love some bees, and also for their honey. I have seen a couple of bumbles already. I've had a couple of buzzing bumblebees around the garden, but there aren't many flowers out yet, so they tend to stay rather hibernated. Their instinct knows that they shouldn't sort of come out until there is nectar and stuff around for them. When the first bits of pulmonaria start flowering, I'm sure it'll be a mass with bees, so they will start coming, and you'll find that on the milder days, that's when they really start appearing as if from nowhere. So Alana's got gooseberries, blackcurrants, and a loganberry. Brilliant, that's really, really good. I have neither of those. Do I have no? No, I have my blackberries, but I don't have any blackcurrants or gooseberries anymore. I do have a tiny little loganberry that I must try. Ross is saying nettles are an odd one. New shoots, yes, but the old dog nettle probably hurt their tongue. Yeah, they can be quite tough, can't they? And Gardening with AJ says, also some more news. I have had mice in my shed. Yeah, me too. And they've destroyed lots of my bird feed and have got into my seed box. Any recommendations of getting rid of mice without killing them? Not really. I'm afraid I kill them. I've got a couple of mouse traps, and at one point I was catching 1 mouse a night. One evening I was sitting in the living room and I heard it go 3 times. So I caught 3 in one night. They are rife at this time of year. It's been quite cold, so they're seeking warmer places to be. And once they obviously discover a food store as well, such as wild bird seed or chicken seed, then they know to keep coming back there. So the only advice I can really give is get your traps out and do trap them, because although they're super cute, They do wee on everything, and they can carry diseases. So they are super cute, and I hate killing them. But unfortunately, I can't have them. We can't have them crawling all over our chicken feed because of, you know, nuisances and spreading diseases and things like that. Buddy Mojo says, looking forward to getting my quails from you. So you might have seen yesterday that I think you're Mandy, isn't it? I think you may have seen that we have got quail chicks. So I think you're quite local. So those 8 quail chicks may well be headed your way in a few weeks or a couple of months when they're big enough. You can certainly come and have a look at them. And they may be winging their way to you. So they're doing really, really well. They're growing really well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have any drownings. We won't have any sudden heart attacks because of a loud noise, and they will all be okay. Liz says, what was the name of the pellets you used for the bedding in the base of the quail brooder? It's called Verdo. It's actually a horse bedding. It's very similar to the wood pellets you can buy for cat litter. You know, you can buy those instead of buying the cat sand and stuff like that, you can buy the biodegradable wood pellets. So the Verdo is very similar. I buy it from my farm shop. It's £6 a bag. And now that might sound a lot, but actually that wood it lasts forever. It absorbs a ton of moisture, and as soon as it gets slightly wet, it explodes and puffs up. And the amount that is compacted in that is absolutely incredible. Because when I first bought the bag, I thought, well, it's £6 a bag. If this is supposed to do a horse stall, it's never gonna work. And I was gobsmacked how far it goes. So Verdo, Verdo, it's really good stuff. Dan says, do you have that fully black breed of chicken? Is that the Amsamani? Yes. So I had a cockerel, and then we hatched a couple more. So I got a pullet and another cockerel. I sold the second cockerel, and I had a non-related cockerel and pullet. Sadly, the cockerel died. So now I just have Onyx, who is the pullet. She's a lovely little hen. Bit scatty, but lovely. Jay is saying he's got to get going. Farm chores to do. It was lovely to see you, Jay. Thank you, as always, for stopping in. And actually, we'll probably close down in a minute because we're coming up to 100. I'm looking at the clock. 126 minutes. 1 hour and we're 26 minutes. So we're coming up to an hour and a half. So we'll probably start closing down so we can all go to bed. Sandra says she uses pallets for everything. Good game, Bees and Homestead. I will look in on you. And good game, Bees and Homestead says my honeybees are starting to come out a little bit here lately, but I am still warmer than you, and I'm in southern US. Yeah, so we probably won't see our honeybees buzzing around for a while yet, because they want to be out when there's nectar-rich flowers, of which obviously we haven't got that many yet. Budgie Mojo says mice hate mint. Put mint tea bags in there. Yeah, that's a good idea as well. They really don't like it, so that can be helped to get rid of them. And Alana says I need to sow some grass seed tomorrow too. I bought some special poultry pasture mix. I'm hoping they will be a bit more resilient than normal lawn grass. Oh well, let us know. Especially come to the community group and let us know, Alana, because that'd be really, really interesting to see if there was a grass seed that is a bit more sturdy against chickens. The veg grower, this is a great tip actually. An old dead fridge is great for keeping seeds in store as they're pretty rodent proof. Yeah, very good idea. And Ross says rats and mice, it's not worth not killing them. You're just moving the problem to someone else's area. Harsh but fair. And also they just breed so quickly as well. You know, if you don't kill them, the populations just explode. I really should have noticed that I had mice in the outhouse beforehand, because by the time I started to trap them, there was also already a huge family of mice, so it took a while to get rid of them all. Right, I am going to just quickly scroll through these last messages, and I think then it is bedtime for me. I've got the bird show obviously in the morning, so I can't have a really, really late night. Ross just says, also I think it is against the law to release a rat from a trap in the UK. I'm not sure about rats. You might well be right. I know it is the case for squirrels. You're not allowed to trap squirrels and then release them. So that's grey squirrels, not red squirrels. Grey squirrels, you can't do that. So you might be right with the whole rat thing. So gardening with HA off to Wilco for mouse traps. What do they like best for bait? You can buy some mouse traps that have a little. I buy the plastic ones, and they have a little bait thing in it. Also, when you discover where they're running, I literally don't even bait now. I just put the mouse trap across where they're running, behind a box or something. They run across it and they get killed anyway. Fringe says, I am going to be getting my quail once I get back off holiday to Gran Canaria at the beginning of May. I wish I could get them from you, but you live too far away. I know I am a bit of far away to be sending quail up to Manchester. But you must share them with us so we can see them all. Right, so AJ has gone. So good night, AJ. Thank you for stopping in. AJ is always the first here as well, which is nice. Right, so I'm going to say good night as everybody else seems to be winding down. So thank you so much for stopping in. I'm glad we managed to have a nice catch up. I'm going to have a little sip of my cold tea and head to bed. Tomorrow we'll have the smallholding diaries, and I will film some of the stuff at the bird show to let you in, and I'll show you the new birds that I get. And there will also be all the updates that I've talked to you guys about tonight, about the budgies and the chickens and everything throughout the week. So thank you again for stopping by. I will see you again next week for our Saturday night live stream. If you've got chickens, remember, get involved in chicken checking because I would love to host you on the channel. But for now, I will see you later. Bye-bye.